Welcome to the Small Business Rally Point for Monday, August 24th, 2020. I'm Pat Miller, the Idea Coach, and thanks for coming in. This show is our chance to get the small business community together, and we can kind of see what's going on, take each other's temperatures, and really understand what's happening in the small business community. It's sponsored by Serendipity Labs and also the Idea Collective for small business owners. So welcome to all of those members. And if you're not a member yet, you might want to think about it. The doors to the group reopen in October. A shout out to Jennifer Buchholz, who's producing the show today. She's the ultimate business connector and my business BFF. A couple of announcements. So what we do here on the show is we will have our guest, and then on Monday morning, we'll send you a text and an email saying, hey, Matt Cordio is on the show today, and you'll get it on your mobile device or in your email box if you sign up for the VIP alerts. Super easy to do it. Just text the word biz, B-I-Z, to 414-240-1315. You can also text the word class because today is launch day. I'm so excited. We've been talking about this for 4 weeks in a row, Avoiding Small Business Burnout, featuring Serena Talbot, a 2-week pod class to help you assess if you're at small business burnout and really evaluate what's driving yourself and feeling that way. It'll help you emotionally and it'll help your business. It's available now. Text the word class to 414-240-1315. And that way you can get in and check out that course. We're really excited. So as we were mentioning, Matt Cordio, the co-founder of Startup Wisconsin Milwaukee and the president of Skills Pipeline, is going to be our guest today. Also, we're going to have a Rally Point Roundtable conversation. And the question today, what are the common misconceptions about you or your company? Now, not looking to complain or feel bad about what we do, but I'm curious if there's something that everybody thinks about you or your business that isn't true. Maybe it's a service you do or do not provide. Maybe it's the price of your service. Maybe it's how hard it is to hire your service. I mean, you tell us. That's the point of the roundtable. And we do have a Scooby snack for the person that jumps in first in the roundtable rally point. With all that out of the way, let's see what's going on in the startup community in Milwaukee and Wisconsin. I'm excited to bring Matt Cordio on. Matt is the president of Skills Pipeline and the co-founder of Startup Milwaukee and Startup Wisconsin. So Matt, thanks for coming on the show. How you been?
Great to be here, Pat, and it's good to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to see you as well. It's exciting that we are talking again. We just had you on for our new YGTV broadcast. We're doing an entire episode on the startup ecosystem in Milwaukee and in Wisconsin, and that's going to come out in October. So it's great to have you on the show as well. So before we get into, something as big as the startup ecosystem in the area, a lot of folks know about Startup Milwaukee, which became Startup Wisconsin. If someone isn't familiar with that, or in general, what you do to help the startup environment, can you just tell us about that event and so everyone's on the same page?
Yeah, so about 9 years ago, I founded a group called Startup Milwaukee. Our focus is really connecting startup founders with the resources they need, primarily through events and our major event being Startup Milwaukee Week, which this will be our 5th year, coming up November 11th to the 18th. And that is a week that is really dedicated to unearthing all the resources in the Milwaukee region that support high growth, technology driven entrepreneurship. So we will have dozens of events. This year is a lot of things in 2020. It's unprecedented. We've never done a fully virtual Startup Milwaukee Week, but we will be doing that in November due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And 4 years ago, actually, we scaled what we had learned in Milwaukee around building the startup community to about 10 other cities around the state. And these are cities like Madison, Green Bay, Appleton, Oshkosh, Beloit, Eau Claire, and simultaneously during that November 11th through 18th period, these 10 other cities host their own startup weeks. Now this year it's exciting because we haven't been able to show off what's happening in other communities, but this year being virtual, we're really making a push to engage all the communities kind of in each other's programming and events to highlight all the resources available to entrepreneurs in the state, and then also to drive attendance from people outside the state of Wisconsin and really put our startup ecosystem on the map, because that's critically important as people make a decision to move from, say, the coast to Wisconsin. They want to see a strong and vibrant tech startup ecosystem here.
And there are a lot of advantages to having a startup here as far as the price of real estate. And there is a bunch of tech talent in the area. I mean, this is a rich place to have a startup, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, so my day job is really running a technology recruiting firm, Skills Pipeline, and we see some of the best software engineers in the region, and right now, they're working for companies on the coasts or companies here locally, and there's really an opportunity. Some coastal companies have found to establish offices or presences in the region, or now it's just hiring remote workers. Due to our affordability of living and cost of living being much lower than the coast, we've really seen a growth in our tech industry recently.
So at what point this year did you realize, okay, we got to go virtual? And then how long did it make you realize, oh, wait, but that means we can really show off to the rest of the world? Is that kind of how you emotionally went through that decision, or are you still kind of processing what that opportunity might look like?
Yeah, so the one thing that I'll miss a lot of is our beer, because pretty much it's an excuse for me to be at happy hour every day for an entire week. Usually at a different brewery, because a lot of events that we've hosted support our local breweries and different establishments. But we're working on how to integrate beer in 2020 somehow in some fun way. But really. We start our intensive planning process. And right now, we're actually looking for organizations interested in hosting events. We open the call for events, and that'll go through September 13th. What makes the week special is having all these different community partners hosting events. So we want to make sure that we're positioning and helping our community partners who have traditionally hosted in-person events succeed in a virtual world. So we've been doing some extra workshops and seminars on how to go virtual with events and ensure an engaging experience. But I was kind of in denial until mid-July, to be honest, in terms of when I thought we would be going virtual, because I still think that a lot of the value of an event like Startup Week is those serendipitous connections that happen when people bump into each other.
And I think that's a distinction about Startup Week that maybe people don't realize if they've never been a part of it, is it's not you and your team hosting every event. It's really like a patchwork of all these other events that get put together. And you just said that we just did a call for events. Can you explain the type of events that you're looking for? And we've got 35, 38 different folks on Zoom and more on Facebook watching, and many of them have groups and organizations. If they're interested in potentially having an event as a part of Startup Week, what are you looking for and how do they apply?
Yeah, so we really are looking for a broad array of events. Really, our core audience for Startup Week it's entrepreneurs, and it's usually entrepreneurs that might have an idea and they don't know the right resources in the Milwaukee community or Wisconsin to go and help them make that idea a reality. So often they're looking for help with things like, everything from legal services to marketing and sales tactics to really anything that helps a company grow and scale faster. And so to host an event during the week, we currently have a call for events out. And the best way to kind of do that is there's a form on Startup Milwaukee's website, startupmke.org. And that's where you can find more info, or just email me, matt@startupmke.org.
We're going to talk about startups in Milwaukee and Wisconsin as a whole in just a second. But what I like about the rally point is that if you have a question and you want to ask Matt, just jump into the chat and then we'll unmute your microphone and you can ask Matt a question or two if you have one. So we want to make sure that we're encouraging you to be a part of the conversation. Just let Michael and JB, who are helping run the show behind the scenes, know about it and we'll get you on the air. So let's zoom out for a second. So Startup Week in November, it's going to be great. But startups in a whole here in the area and in the state, What is that ecosystem like right now? Is it growing? Is it shrinking? Just what are we seeing at the moment?
Yeah, so I think one of the reasons why we advocate for a stronger startup ecosystem in the state of Wisconsin is, COVID's only accelerated the digital transformation of our economy. And one thing that we've seen from the COVID-19 pandemic is technology's been relatively untouched by COVID. And a technology job helps also grow the local economy. There's the multiplier effect, which economists look at, which is how many jobs in other parts of the economy, services, everything from more lawyers to accountants to barbers or restaurant servers are needed to support a new job. And there's been research that a new technology job creates 4 additional jobs in the services economy. A manufacturing job, which has long been a focus of the Milwaukee region, only creates 1.4 additional jobs. Hence why, when we look at investing our economic development resources, we really think it's good to look at technology as a focus. So historically, Milwaukee has struggled to create new technology companies. Often that's just due to I think a more conservative business climate. But what's really interesting is Wisconsin has no shortage of engineers. When you go out to Silicon Valley or another tech spot like New York, you're finding engineers educated at UW-Madison or MSOE, or University of Illinois or whatnot. So the Midwest has historically been fueling a talent pipeline for coastal technology jobs. The founder of Netscape, for example, he was from a little town in southern Wisconsin and moved away. And so what we've really tried to do is create an ecosystem, because one of the things that is clear from a startup founder's perspective is they need capital and high risk venture capital. And venture capital is investments are really driven partially by network and partially by proximity to that venture capital. Only so 75% of venture capital goes to 3 states: California, New York, and Massachusetts. The other 25% is spread across kind of the center of America. And so, Wisconsin only sees about 1 or 2% of that total amount of venture activity. So we're looking at policies and just kind of general advocacy to better connect entrepreneurs to resources they need here in Wisconsin, as well as capital and other things.
I could have guessed California and New York. I didn't think I would guess Massachusetts. Is that because of the reputation of MIT and Harvard and the higher education in that corridor?
Yeah, and the prevalence of like biotech research and kind of other technology, but it is due to that, those Ivy League
Gotcha.
schools.
All right, we've got a question from Sarah Bauer. Sarah, go ahead.
Hey, well, thanks for presenting. This is very interesting. So here's my question. There are a lot of businesses starting up right now, a lot, and all different verticals and all over the Milwaukee and greater markets. And I feel that, negative media sells, right? Bad news, woe is me, this is what people click on. So my question is, as I work with these new business owners or even come across them, like, how do we get these good stories in the paper and these good stories out on social media? Like, hey, XYZ open corner bakery like is opening up. Let's promote them. Let's talk about the success stories. I mean, how do you speak to those new entrepreneurs? How do they get in the media? And because it's a good thing, right? It's an exciting thing. And to be able to overcome all the negative things that are really kind of circulating right now and really to get them going, right? That's what everyone needs in the beginning.
Yeah, and Matt, you did a great job of that. How have you done such a good job to get this startup message out in the media? Because it's something that if we could all learn from, we could do what Sarah's talking about, which is get more stories of a positive nature out there.
Yeah, I think having strong relationships with the media is essential. They want to tell the good stories too, I think. The thing though that has been a challenge over the 9 years I've been doing this is it hasn't always been that way. So in the past 2 or 3 years, there really have become there's become more of a focus on technology and startups and new company creation, and therefore the media to kind of support it. But I feel like in general, the media has been struggling to find their new business model, and so it's more and more difficult, I think, to pitch stories that resonate. But typically, when I talk to startup founders about getting media, it usually has to circle around some sort of event, whether it's fundraising. So I just raised $500,000 seed round of funding, and that's a newsworthy event. Or I just launched a new product, and here's why this customer is using it. And usually the bigger the customer, more notable the customer is better. So where I've seen that work for a smaller company is like, here's a new venture that I created in partnership with Northwestern Mutual or something like that. And I think another opportunity for media really can come from around, it has to be unique and differentiated. And it's really challenging, with, I think specifically, like to use the restaurant example, what makes the restaurant unique or differentiated from others. I think that's one of the things some of the startups that I work with have benefited from is no one else in Milwaukee is building a, startup to solve this problem. And so how can you help differentiate the message that a company has?
Well, and one of the things that you did is you created an event. So it was easy for them to cover. Start Up Milwaukee. It was a week. They could come point their cameras at someone. There was a story because it was a thing. So you could send a press release about a thing. I think that's one thing. The other thing is, as you touched on, tech startups are inherently sexy. So like, I think they're interested in that in general, as opposed to I'm opening a pizza place that's not as inherently sexy. Although if I was opening it, it would be very sexy. The other thing that I would say though, is that I would tell my clients that there's very little difference between sponsored content and news coverage anymore. That if you want to get your story out in some of these larger channels, you can go into their sales side and create some really great looking sponsored content. And very few people will know or care whether it was a news person that stuck the microphone in your place or their promotions team that stuck a microphone in your face. But Lisa from Rebel Girl, you had some thoughts too about getting some reach other than sponsored content or starting an event. What do you have?
Yeah, there's some small businesses write press releases, and there's a right way and a wrong way to write a press release, but you can find that on just Google it. But if you write a press release, you can actually go to any media outlet, whether it's radio or newspaper, and go to they actually have they usually have a media in their tabs to find out where to send that to. And then what you can do is just take all the local business, like all the local newspapers, whether you're in Waukesha County or Milwaukee County or wherever you are, and just create a group with all of the emails, and then just start sending them press releases on different things. It could even be just like, hey, Labor Day weekend, we're having this special kind of thing. And eventually you're going to get noticed and you're going to have something put out. So it's just, it just needs to be consistent, and you need to just get in front of them. And they have an email specifically for receiving press releases. So.
Good stuff. Thanks, Lisa. Appreciate it. The other thing that I've been fond of doing is when I send the email, I'll put the first paragraph of the press release in the email so they don't even have to open the attachment, because sometimes the attachments won't get through spam filters. The other thing I'll do is put 3 or 4 story angle ideas. So here's a time when this story would fit. Here's the type of person you could come interview. Here's what the setup would look like, high resolution pictures. Try and make it as easy for them as possible. It would definitely help your cause. Now, we've got Matt Cordio for just another minute or two because he's squeezing us in. He's got a 3:30 he's got to run to. So if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, please jump in. And it looks like we have one from Abby Miller. Abby Miller, go ahead. What do you got?
Well, one of my comments earlier when you were talking about tech changing how businesses are run and the changes we've had to make. my comment was about the schools, how as parents, we've been asking the schools for years to put registration online. I mean, yeah, it's easier, but there's parents who can't get their kids to registration. Suddenly, COVID happens and overnight registration is online. So now, moving forward, what are you seeing for schools, for businesses, for everything, that like the new priorities? So if these things have already happened without trying, by accident, I guess you can say, then what is the new priority?
Well, and it's forced adaptation. Is that opening up new markets for startups that you're seeing, Matt?
Yeah, I think there are definitely companies in the grocery delivery space, for example, that have done very well due to the pandemic. And I think my example is, I don't have kids, but I went to the doctor and I didn't have to talk to anyone to check in. I checked in via an app, which I've been waiting to do, and not have to exchange credit cards or papers with somebody in a clinic. I think that what COVID has done is really accelerate technology adoption in various industries, and it's helped especially slow ones like the education and healthcare industry is really have a burning platform to drive change. I think it'll be interesting to see what changes are lasting, because I think a lot of the changes that have made consumers' lives better are here to stay. And it's really uncertain as to how that'll impact jobs and different organizations moving forward, because I do think some of these solutions have been built with duct tape and it's duct tape technology solutions together. So I think now is a really exciting time to think about new technology and how it can be built to really help make our lives easier.
All right, we got one last question, then we're going to let you go, Matt. Michael Rampola, what you got?
I'm going to connect that idea with Pat's famous magic wand question. So Matt, I want to give you a magic wand and say, what's the thing that's right now being held together with duct tape, chewing gum, and paper clips that tech, if they got it right, could put Milwaukee on the map in a major way?
This is a hard question.
Well, you get to pick. So it's wide open. You're like, man, if we could just get this thing right, Milwaukee tech scene, startup, even Wisconsin, could really position itself at the forefront of a next wave.
Yeah, so I think that one of the things that we've not done historically is take small bets on people with new ideas, and I do think that some sort of program that systematically funds 10 to 20 new technology-driven entrepreneurs a year, maybe it's a $25,000 or $50,000 small equity investment or a grant, that could really help fuel our region's growth. Is give people some runway and ability to leave their day jobs, and give them a reason to go build something. And also importantly tied to that money is the right connections and network, which I think there are a lot of great organizations in the community that are providing that aspect. But really the seed funding and doing it at scale of, having 20 new, early stage technology companies, I think will eventually yield results. It's a probability game with venture capital and innovative companies. So, 2 of the 20 are gonna, make it big, and maybe 5 or 10 don't go anywhere. But I was involved in a similar program to that back when I was in school, and it no longer exists in Milwaukee. Otherwise, I'd be touting it. But it gave me the opportunity to get involved in the startup community and realize, my startup that I worked on there didn't work out, but I ended up going and starting Skills Pipeline, my technology recruiting firm. And I also started Startup Milwaukee as a way to help build a tech and startup community here, because no one else was really talking about it at the time back in 2011. The thing that I've also seen from my friends that participate in that program is they're still here in Milwaukee and still doing entrepreneurial things. And I think only one of them is working on the original company that they had. But giving people a little bit of capital to do something, I think would yield great results. And a city that has done that in the Midwest very well, two of them, one is Minneapolis. They have various seed accelerator programs that are providing that early stage capital. And then another is St. Louis, where they actually grant out $1 million a year, $50,000 grants to entrepreneurs willing to move to St. Louis to start their company. And that program has created thousands of jobs, has led to millions of dollars in additional venture capital investment in that region and really grown their economy.
So nearly everyone in this call has stepped out and started their own thing, and you and your group provide those connections that people need. So give us one more time, when is Startup Wisconsin Week, and how can we apply to be one of the shows inside the show?
Yep. So Start Milwaukee Week's November 11th through the 18th, and it is startupmke.org, where you can find more about how to host an event during that week.
That sounds great. We're looking forward to good luck with your transition, and thanks so much for putting all of us on the map. And hopefully this year we'll reach more people than ever before. It's going to be great.
Yep. Thanks, Pat. Thanks, everybody. Great to meet you all, and have a great afternoon.
It's our pleasure. Thank you very much. Matt Cordio, the co-founder of Startup Milwaukee and the president of Skills Pipeline. Always great to have him on the rally point. And now we're going to move on. Let's pivot. Just see if you're thirsty, right? We're going to pivot. Yeah, see, got to do it. All right, we're going to pivot because we're going to move over to our roundtable, and the roundtable is our chance to, basically see what's on each other's minds and talk a little bit. And today, our roundtable question, I thought this one was pretty interesting. And remember, there's a Scooby snack for who wants to go first, so drop into the chat if you want to go first. What are the common misconceptions about you or your company that you right now, I'm going to set this straight because I'm so tired that people think the thing. So we're going to have actually Jackson got in there first. All right, Jackson, you get to go first. What's a common misconception about you or your company?
Well, the bar for insurance in general is just very, very low. So there's not really any expectations to live up to, and you could just do fine. So that was a big reason to getting into insurance.
Yeah, because it didn't look that either well done or didn't have a great reputation, and you decided to fix it?
I already knew I could breathe, so I was like 80% of the way there. No, that's not that bad, but yeah.
When you got into it, was it as lame as you thought it was? From the outside, it looked like this. Once you got inside, was it really that way?
I think the thing is, I've sold so many different things, and I've never been excited about the thing I sold until I figured out what it did and how it served the client. Yeah. And then once you learn that, you can be excited about anything. So now I think insurance is very interesting. But you just got to learn, how you can use it.
Very good. Very good. All right. Thanks, Jackson. Appreciate it. Sarah Nowacki, I'm sure you've got one. What's a common misconception about a travel agent?
That my services are more expensive than online services. I cost the same amount.
Now, how can that be? Now, seriously, I'm curious. How can that be?
Well, whether you book yourself or you book through me, you're paying a travel agent. It's just you're paying somebody behind the scenes, or you're paying me and get personal service.
All right. So maybe this is Captain Obvious, but are you saying if I book through Kayak is making money from the vendor just like you're making money for the vendor?
Exactly.
Okay. I guess I'm an idiot. Okay. Great.
Well, I wouldn't say that because you use a super travel agent.
I do use an amazing travel agent. You're right, travel agent Sarah Nowacki. Okay, cool. Liz Watson, the leader on the Impact Trail. What is a common misconception about you or your company?
So I think it's really the misconception of my ideal clients. I don't need to plan. I've got the thing I've got to get done. I'm too busy. I'll plan later. Or, nah, it's not really that important. I'll just keep fixing stuff as I go along.
So they don't have the right frame of mind about why planning's so important.
Right.
And then how do you help them with that?
That's a great question. I guess try to address the pain points they've got and share how that could feel better, how it could feel better to be the leader in their business if they took a little time to do that, whether with help or without.
Yeah, but they should do it with help, right?
Oh.
Don't just walk the impact trail without the leader. You need the leader. Very good. Okay, cool. Liz. Thanks. Abby Miller, you've got a common misconception about you or your company. What is it?
Well, I always walk around with my camera and I'm always taking pictures all the time, 100%, like in my sleep, or maybe like 2 days a week for an hour, because that's really the reality of it. I run a business. I do it to take pictures, but yeah.
Yeah. You do take a lot of pictures though. I just got, as the husband, you do take a lot of pictures.
Well, and this year is different because I stopped doing my daily photo project.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that?
Yeah, I do actually.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. Don't take pictures all the time. Got it. Sandra Heft, what is the common misconception about Mary Kay?
Hi, that it is old lady makeup. Even today, I mean, this many years past, people still think that. And then I just have to spend the time to educate and show them, and that we have skincare for all ages, and not just makeup, but skincare, body care, just items to help you look great from head to toe.
So does that hinder your ability to get younger women to book parties
Yes.
and talk with you?
Yes. So I usually have to, I have to go through the moms to get the younger people. And then they're like, oh, okay, this is what you offer. Mary Kay has done a lot over the years on college campuses to re-educate or educate people. So I think that our company is doing a really good job to do that. But I think sometimes young people know, oh, their moms used it. So I want to use something more trendy.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you. The reason why I'm asking this question is I think we're going to learn things about each other that we didn't even realize. That's why I wanted to bring it up. Like, oh, well, Gretchen's got one, and she's saying something that I didn't realize. So Gretchen, what's one thing that people have as a misconception about you or your business?
That all we do are taxes.
More than that.
And we do so much more. We do strategic planning. We help you start your business. We help you minimize your taxes, which is always a big deal. But we also help you prepare to exit your business and get the most out of it when you sell. So we do succession planning.
Mm-hmm. So people call primarily for taxes, and they luck into or learn about after the fact all these other services, or is it just the common misconception is you just do taxes?
It's just a common misconception that we just do taxes. Our best one is people walk by and they come in and it says CPA on our wall, and the first thing they say are, do you do taxes? My office manager might have a smart aleck remark for that, but she's more professional and will say, yes, we do. That is part of our business, but not all of it.
All right. Very good. Thanks for sharing. David Bellman, is it hard to build a home? Is that a common misconception for you?
Yes. Yeah. People have a hard time getting their head around building a home, and they think it's a pain in the butt. So, we've really worked hard to create a good process so that it's a smooth experience for people, and we can make it not a pain in the butt if you're using a professional. And one of the things we did last week, we opened up a new subdivision, and we created a kind of a new way of doing it where we guaranteed the pricing, and we've turned it into more packages instead of like a full custom. And I mean, we got 6 reservations last week just in that grand opening, and we made it a lot smoother. We can get them started quicker and get them started a lot easier. And that's been really exciting to be able to kind of just change the way we do things and make it better for everybody.
How is it possible to build and customize the most valuable thing you'll ever own and have it not be a pain in the butt? That just sounds like an overwhelming pain in the butt to me.
Yeah, well, sometimes people are their own worst enemy. And, that's one of the things with home building. Like I'll have some clients where they're literally at the site like every day, and they're literally trying to change stuff as we're making it. And that will ruin the process for you. That'll ruin the experience. So we try to get people to plan it out. We try and figure those things out. We ask good questions at the beginning, and then hopefully, we tell people, hey, just let us do our thing. Once we get it started, let us do our thing. And you have to understand that it's not perfection from day one. It's something that it's a process. So it's going to be dirty, and there's going to be things that aren't finished. And We come back, and it's one of the few things that you can create that you actually see it all being made right in front of you. It's almost like Subway, where you get to watch the sandwich being made. But most things you don't see your car being made piece by piece, right? But you can see your house made like that.
That has to be really satisfying. I've never had it done. It has to be really cool to watch them pour your basement and put up your garage. Like, that has to be really neat.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool to see people putting pictures up on Facebook, like, oh, look, my walls are going up. And, it's a roller coaster for our clients, because it takes 90 days sometimes just to start a project with all the permitting. So, they're going down the roller coaster. They're, oh, nothing's happening. All of a sudden we dig their hole, and then they're happy. And then the framing goes up and they're really happy. And, it's just, but we have to deal with that beginning, which is really tough for people.
All right. So I don't want to get off track here, because we've got a lot of folks we got to get to, but I have one more follow-up question. In your experience as a home builder, what is the most common regret that people have once their home is done?
The most common regret is usually there's one thing that they wanted to add and they just figure it's out of the budget. And then as soon as they get the house done, they're like, gosh, I really wish I would have, made the basement taller. I would have added that one thing. And a lot of times we tell them, hey, look at the mortgage. It's 30 years, 3%, it's $12 a month to add that, and they don't do it. And then at the end, they're like, yeah, I should have did that.
Yeah, I should have did it. Yeah. Yeah. I needed this podcast studio in the basement. Yeah. I really, the bar, right. I needed the bar. I mean, right now, I wish
if you think you want it, or you think you're going to add it in the next couple of years, do it right away, because it's always cheaper now than later.
All right. Good stuff. All right. Thanks, David. Garrett Stein. Now, technically, you deserve the Scooby snack, because you were the first person into the chat that had an answer. So what's a common misconception about you and your company?
Well, with our technology services, and even with our just IT services, we get the misconception that we are too expensive. Many times I talk to a possible client, and they go, I'd love to talk to you, but you're too expensive. And I'm like, we haven't even talked about price.
So how do you deal with that?
Unfortunately, I just shrug my shoulders and move on. So if they want to get a teenager to come in because they can set up an Xbox, we'll be here to fix it when they're done.
That's true. Go do it cheap and then come back, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. All right, Garrett, you get a Make Good Scooby snack. I'll email it to you. All right, Roger, you've got one for us. What's a common misconception about you or your company?
That as a speaker, I should do it for free, and I should do it for the exposure, because it's real easy to speak.
Don't you hate that? That has to make your head explode.
It does, because, I tried paying the mortgage one time with exposure, and it didn't go so well.
So at one point we were talking about making Idea Collective t-shirts, and exposure doesn't pay the bills was one of the t-shirts we were thinking about making.
No kidding.
Yeah, HR's still on the clock.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. No
Monday.
Kidding.
That's good. So when is your next speaking gig? What do you got coming up?
I got a couple of virtual ones coming up in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the business is going well, but I always love that. But you'll get exposure. I'm like, it's cold out too. That's the kind of exposure I don't need.
Yeah.
So yeah, but people seem to think it's real easy, and they wonder why I charge so much. And I'm like, well, it all went into the development of the content that you're getting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you're good on top of it all. All right, cool. Thanks, Roger. Nancy,
well, who wouldn't want this?
Oh, I'm not sure. Who wouldn't? Nancy, what's a common misconception about you or your company?
Well, first of all, I'm kind of old to be in this business, but it kind of lends to my success because I do a lot of Medicare and I'm getting close to Medicare. But as Jackson said, there's just a stereotype of sleazy insurance agent who's just going to force you into something that's too expensive and is not going to help you.
Yeah. Not sleazy. I've used Nancy. She's not sleazy. Truth. All right, cool. Thanks for that. All right, Jennifer Buchholz, are you back, by the way? Did your computer blow up when we started the show? What happened to you?
You broke it.
I broke it?
I don't know. It was definitely,
normally happens.
Definitely a malfunction. But yeah, so of course, Microsoft keeps coming out with new products. It used to be every 3 years. Now it's every single month. But why train our employees on it? Because they keep doing the same things the same way.
Oh. No.
So, yeah.
All right. So here's the thing. I've got 70 unread messages in the chat, which is amazing. And also I got to hurry up. So let's go to the Aussie bookkeeper out in Colorado. Julie Callahan, what is the common misconception about you and your company?
I'm a bookkeeper, but a lot of people think it's just processing transactions is all that I do. And I do a lot more than that. So I'm more about creating an information system that's going to provide information that's relevant to help people make business decisions and also to help them look at their profit and become more profitable. So that's me.
Now, isn't it interesting that if we listen to this section back again and again and again, we would hear people saying they think I only do the one thing. Like there is more depth to that one service, right? You still have to get into the books, but there's all of this depth of analysis. And a lot of the folks that we've heard from, people are pigeonholing them on one service that doesn't quite capture their entire area of brilliance. I wonder if, as we think big picture, if that might be a marketing opportunity. And speaking of big picture and doing smart things, Jennifer Hensley, what's something that misconception about you or your company?
Oh, unmute this time, or you unmuted me. I said one of the things I think is that people just think, especially with me working with referral-based businesses, that they can not have to ask, that marketing is just going to be that magic bullet and the phone will ring off the hook and you never have to ask for introductions again.
Right. Just here comes all the business, right? I placed the Google ads and I'm now a millionaire. That is the truth. All right, cool. We got to keep on moving here because we have 15 minutes left of the show and I got 75 unread messages. You guys are amazing. All right, Michelle from Tech Lab, common misconception about you or your company.
We do GI disease diagnostics because the lab stands for, like medical testing, right? So we also do drug testing. No, really what happened is that our website is techlabhq.com. Not techlab.com, and TechLab is a company that does GI disease diagnostics. TechLab HQ, on the other hand, does IT, and that's hence the tech.
So how frequently do you get that?
On the phone, maybe once a month.
Once a month?
But in networking, every couple of times or every little bit, they've only heard our name and, oh yeah, you guys do drug testing.
Do drugs. Testing. No, we don't do that either. All right, cool. Michelle, thank you. Sarah Bauer, Heartland Payment Systems. Common misconception about you or your company?
I'll say more about my profession. So I work in outside sales. So salespeople, we just eat and we drink and we party and we talk on the phone and we cash in our commission check. That's all we do.
That's all.
I love it. So far from the truth. If you followed me, I invite anyone who thinks that how sales is to follow me for a day. You can see what we really do. So
I couldn't keep up with you. I couldn't keep up with you.
I don't know. So, maybe we should have a field trip.
Oh, no.
It might be kind of fun.
It would be fun, but it would be exhausting. So walk us through. Today's Monday, right? It's 3:45 in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. Give us the fast forward. We get on fast forward. Fast forward. What have you done today? You haven't sat around and just made calls.
I had 6 appointments before 10 a.m. Some were managerial and some were admin. I've been into a restaurant. I have been out to help someone with a piece of equipment that wasn't functioning properly. I'm hanging out with you while I drink my coffee. I took a call while I kind of had my lunch, and most of it was Zoom, and Zoom crashed in between. And I just got a new piece of equipment that I have to go install at a gun range tomorrow. And it's only 3:47. So yeah, and I have to collect children at some point and keep working. So yeah, it's fun every day.
Can't keep up with you. All right, good stuff. Cheryl Litvin, what's a common misconception about you or your company?
I'm a business owner and all I need is a general liability policy.
That's not true.
Just chaps my buns.
So what do you
Because a general liability policy protects me from you, but who's protecting you?
So what do you need?
Most people need professional policies or errors and omissions.
Okay.
That protect you.
That's right. That's right. So what is that the most common additional rider that you give people, or a piece of insurance that you sell people?
Yep. That's probably my niche market.
Right. Right. Okay, man, we've got so many people here that still want to get in. Bill Sargent, you put into the chat, were you reacting to people talking about exposure, or did you have something to share as far as a common misconception about you or your companies? And I say companies plural because you have like 94, right?
Yeah. it's like it's being typecast. You nailed it perfectly, what you were talking about a second ago. If you do something really, really well, they typecast you in that role, and they don't understand the other hats you have, like the different kinds of music I play. Or I just do family portraiture and I don't do headshots, or I do headshots and I don't do light painting. And then the biggest one in the photography industry, oh, that picture my daughter took will do just fine for my headshot on my social media. That'll be just wonderful.
Yeah. iPhones are good enough, right?
They don't get that one at all.
No, I just want the digitals. Oh yeah. No, we're not even going to get you and Abby going because we'd have a real problem. We'd run out of time for the rest of the call. My heart goes out to you.
Abby, we'll do coffee, okay?
I'm sure there'd be a great collab there for sure. All right. So as we've listened to all of this stuff and we've got Michael who's listening in the background, I'm sure you've got a whiteboard full of observations. What are you thinking here, friend, about all the stuff that we've heard today?
Well, normally I'd have a whiteboard, but I've been managing the chat. So I put it in the chat because that's where I see the trend. So what I see is we've got great branding, but I see that here's the trend across. There's two risks of great branding. Number one, you get so excellent at doing your one thing, everybody knows you for that one thing, but then that is what everybody believes is the only thing that you can do. So that's a double-edged sword. We talk about focusing in on your best thing and doing it more often to make sure everybody knows about your one thing. So if people don't understand that that's all that you do, don't necessarily take that as a negative. That might be that your branding is really solid, unless it's one little niche part of what you're doing and it's not your actual best thing, in which case figure out why your brand in the market is talking about the wrong thing, number one. Number two trend is you make it look too easy. When you make it look too easy, people think it's inexpensive. I know my business partner, Darren, used to do networking and software installations like true tech, and he said he had to learn to go slower or delay between steps because if he went too fast, it looked too easy, and then people would not understand why he was charging so much. So the value, then the time in versus the value out. That's why it's important when we talk about contracts and designing value props, talk about the value that the customer is getting out of it, not the time you're putting in. If you ever are charging on your time, you are basically telling the customer that's what you're worth, as opposed to charging on the value that they're getting out. So whenever possible, shift the focus to the value out versus your time in, because if you're good at what you do, your time in is so much less than the value out.
That's true. And I would also wonder if we went back and listened analytically to the questions or the answers rather of, well, I also do X, Y, and Z. How many of those things would be upsells to your best clients rather than new client generators? That someone would come to you for one of these other services rather than additional services you could sell past customers or upsell current customers. So good thoughts there, Michael. Appreciate it. I think we missed one person that wanted to jump in. Patrick, Nino, are you there? Did you have something that you wanted to add? You've so politely used the blue hand raised icon inside Zoom. Do you have something to add?
Yeah, I mean, along a lot of the same lines, but I think people just don't quite know what a rage room is, or they have a general misconception about it, and they don't realize everything that smashing can offer between some type of form of therapy, not an actual doctor. Let me put that out there, that this is not a prescription or something that we're providing. It's just what has been told to us when people come out of the rage room, or just stress management and fun and all that type of stuff. So I think it's just a general misconception or misunderstanding of what an actual rage room is.
That line is amazing. Everything smashing can offer. That's brilliant. And Sarah Bauer, you're exactly right. If we have a field trip day with you, we would have to end at the Rage Room because that just sounds like fun. So what are you seeing? You mentioned the observations of the effect that people feel after they go in the Rage Room, Patrick. Yeah. What are you seeing? Can you describe that for us? When someone goes in and then that same person comes out, what are some of those transitions and transformations you've seen?
So I mean, I've definitely seen, you can tell that there's a certain calmness with a lot of people when they come out. I mean, everybody's a little bit different. Some people are still as jacked when they come out of it as they are when they get in, because they just have that much energy. But especially for the people who, are doing it almost as a certain type of therapy. There's one lady who she kind of explained her situation and what she was going through. During the session, I could see her literally like pointing and mouthing at stuff. Like she was focusing whatever was going on at the items that we had in the room. I wish my camera was working right now. I love talking with my hands, and it'd be great. But anyways, and then when she came out, she took off her helmet, and the very first thing she said to me after taking a big deep breath was, "This is better than any therapy I could ever pay for."
Wow, what a line.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. Like, and you could see the difference in her from when she went in and when she came out. It was like a huge weight was lifted off her shoulders. It was crazy.
Well, it sounds like fun and therapeutic. So thanks for jumping
Indeed.
in. Appreciate it. All right. So Consuela, can you talk about Smash the Saboteur and what that was? Tell us all about that.
Yeah, so when Patrick said smashing all the things in therapy, that's Smash the Saboteur. I'm working on confidence with folks. And one of the things that we want to do is identifying your saboteur, or that voice in your head that keeps you from moving forward for whatever reason. So we're going to have an event where we go in, we label the stuff with our saboteurs, and then we smash it. So very excited to be working with Patrick and the Rage Room to get that event going. First one in October.
Oh, that sounds awesome. All right, we'll be there. Thank you, Consuela. All right, so we're going to give Jennifer Buchholz the last words here on this entire conversation of misconceptions. What do you have on your mind?
Well, actually, I just wanted to talk about like the concept of making sure that you have a business BFF and that you're not giving away your trade secrets and things like that. So today is a cheers moment for me, because 2 years ago, Pat and I had our first coffee at Collectivo. And I know, Abby, I'm so like, it's a entrepreneur friendiversary kind of thing. So it was after meeting him at Local First and then having a very fun time with Abby and Pat at the Wauwatosa Chamber grand opening of the Verlo Mattress Factory, where the ideas for events there were flying like crazy.
HR was not on duty that day.
Oh, they were not.
No.
It was great. And I was just, yeah, Michael, definitely. Eyes, ears, mouth, all of that right now. Yeah. And I'll just say, you know, in that moment where he and I just had a very engaging time, we went and had coffee, and I could just really sense who he was. And to see somebody's business progress for a couple of years on both sides, I am so fortunate to have found a bunch of people that have been able to see, you know, he asked the question, how long have we been in business? I think the other question is, who's known about you and your business for that chunk of time? Who's been your person? Who's been your people? And if you haven't found that yet, the Idea Collective is a great place to do it, and so are these, but it's more than just showing up here. It's about taking that next step and making that connection, because everybody has great stuff to offer. I look around the room here and I see so many people who I'd had a chance to connect with, and yet people who I haven't. If you haven't made that yet, you know, no crying in Rally Point, shush you. But it just means a lot. I mean, this is how this all evolves. And it's through the first step is having a cup of coffee and just getting to know somebody and what their dreams are. Because that meeting 2 years ago, we never saw this.
No, we didn't see this. But here's how this relationship stays strong, is that there are a few people in my life that I can call when I'm having a bad day, and JB's one of them. Who in your life, who in your network can you call when you don't have the face on? And if you don't have those people, get out there and be real with people and find more of them. And when you do, your network goes to a whole nother level. So JB, I really appreciate you, Business BFF. Thank you. And I appreciate you and everybody else in the Idea Collective. All right. As Abby says, there's no crying in Rally Point. Let's wrap this candle. I want to show you something. We're very excited. Today is launch day for Avoid Small Business Burnout, featuring the super duper rock star Serena Talbot from Life Back Therapy. The podcast is now live. So if you are feeling overwhelmed, you are feeling stressed out, you need a break, you need to look at things in a fresh, new, creative way, the new podcast is for you. In the first episode, we're going to go through how to avoid burnout. And in the second episode, we're going to take action to help you recover if it hits you. And what's unique about this is a podcast. So my first modality is radio. So we've got a 40-minute episode and then some homework, then another 40-minute episode and some homework. And after re-listening to it, it's very personal. Like it's very easy to get sucked into this conversation. So what's exciting about this is that you can find this course at my website, patmillerideacoach.com. If you're an Idea Collective member, it's another benefit of membership. It is free to you. I encourage you to take a look at it and to participate. The other thing that we've got going on September 22nd, mark your calendars, because Brand Crafted Night School is coming back. 3 philosophical pillars for cold call success with Paul M. Newberger. Tickets are going on sale for that next Monday. And again, Idea Collective members get in free. And Brand Crafted Buzz coffees are back. So if you're not in the Brand Crafted group on Facebook, you might want to join, because these are free networking events that are going to be on Zoom, but it's a great chance to get together, take a look at each other, get to know each other. It's the first Friday of the month starting in September. It's just another opportunity to make your network strong, and maybe, if you're lucky, find your own business BFF. That's early September. So shout out to Jennifer Buchholz for producing the call, and a real shout out to the MVP of the call, Michael Rampolla, for saving our bacon, because Jennifer was having some computer problems and Michael jumped in. So you rock. Don't forget, text the word biz to 414-240-1315. You'll get on the VIP list for this call. And you can also text the word class and you'll get the URL for the pod class sent right to your phone. Thanks to Serendipity Labs for sponsoring. Thanks to the Idea Collective. And thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Small Business Rally Point. I'm Pat Miller, the Idea Coach. See you next time.